My husband said he'd be away on a 15-day business trip and told me not to call him. He was caught at an upscale restaurant with his young mistress. I canceled his black card, sold the mansion, and saw 66 missed calls. He screamed my name. Why did you suddenly cancel the card? How am I supposed to get back to the States? But by then, his rage was nothing but a dull echo to me. All I felt was a chilling satisfaction as I calmly delivered the one sentence that would shatter his world and rebuild mine. The sun was beginning its slow descent, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. On our opulent patio, I was lost in the delicate world of my Phalaenopsis orchids, their petals of pristine white against the fading light. It was a familiar, soothing ritual. Then, the silence was broken by the grating sound of a suitcase dragging across the marble. Ethan, my husband. He appeared in the entryway, still in his perfectly tailored suit, though his tie was now slightly askew. The air, usually fragrant with my meticulous orchid garden, was suddenly thick with his scent, expensive cologne, the faint tang of tobacco, and the weariness of a long day. After 10 years of marriage, this cocktail of aromas was as much a part of our home as the polished floors. And, just like our marriage, sometimes, I barely even noticed it anymore. His gaze, cold and distant, swept over me, barely registering my presence. "I'm leaving," he announced, his voice devoid of any warmth or emotion, flat like a pronouncement. "This business trip is important. Foreign partners are in, a geological survey for a new resort in the Hamptons. Top secret, you understand? Information can't leak." He pulled back almost imperceptibly as I reached to fix his collar, an instinctive gesture I'd performed countless times. It was a tiny, dismissive movement, but I felt it like a jolt. 15 days? So suddenly? I managed, my voice a practiced calm. "That's a long time." He took my hand, but his palm, usually warm, was oddly cool. "For security reasons, don't call or text. My phone will be off. I'll call you as soon as the work is done. The house and the garden are in your hands." I smiled. The same smile I'd perfected over a decade, the smile of the understanding, supportive wife. "Of course, darling. Go, do your important work. I'll be perfectly fine here." The clatter of his suitcase wheels on the tile, then the heavy thud of the iron gate closing, sealed the silence. This luxurious brownstone, once a symbol of our life together, now felt like a mausoleum. I stood there alone, staring at my reflection in the vast picture window. 10 years ago, I was Eva Reed, an ambitious landscape architect, the proud owner of Reed Landscapes. But Ethan had wanted a wife to hold down the fort, so I'd traded my dreams for this gilded cage, pouring my heart into every flower in this garden, believing I was nurturing our home. But his coldness had grown over the years. Dinners together dwindled, affection dried up. He left early, came home late, work, always the excuse. I blamed myself. Was I doing something wrong? Was this just how marriages withered? I tried to revive it, but only met indifference, sometimes irritation. Eventually, even I grew tired. Silence became our constant companion. This 15-day, no-contact business trip, strangely, didn't leave me unsettled. It just cemented a chilling distance that reached deep into my bones. 3 days later, the vast house felt emptier than usual. I found solace, as always, in my orchid garden. The Phalaenopsis, the dancing ladies, the vibrant purple dendrobiums I'd specially ordered from Florida, all in magnificent bloom. As I carefully wiped each delicate leaf, my phone buzzed on the nearby table. Ding! Then another. And another. 3 identical notifications from the bank. My heart skipped a beat. They were transaction alerts from the secondary credit card, Ethan's black card, linked to my account, the one I'd given him for his work convenience. My eyes fixated on the phrase, $4,000 charge at Arya Restaurant. Arya. The name struck me like a needle in the eardrum. $4,000. I checked the date and time, just 10 minutes ago. My hands trembled as I dialed the bank. The agent, after verification, confirmed, yes, Mrs. Reed, a successful payment of $4,000 was made at Arya Restaurant on the Upper East Side, Manhattan. The Upper East Side. Not the Hamptons. I hung up, my entire body going numb. The sweet scent of orchids suddenly felt suffocating, nauseating. Arya. I remembered it all too well. 6 months prior, for our 10th anniversary, I'd shown Ethan an article about it, practically begging, "Honey, let's go there. It's supposed to be so romantic, with a beautiful river view." Ethan, eyes glued to his computer, dismissed me without a glance. "Don't be ridiculous. Look at the price. A single meal costs one of my employees' monthly salaries. It's for idle rich people to show off." I tried to explain, just once in 10 years. But he grew annoyed. "Don't be so extravagant and frivolous. We can use that money for something more useful." My hopes were doused with cold water. Our anniversary ended with a quiet dinner at home. I rationalized. Asterisk, he's practical. He cares about big business, not trivial vanities. Asterisk, but today my husband, supposedly conducting a geological survey in the Hamptons, the same man who told me not to contact him, was at Arya. And he'd paid a $4,000 bill. What client was worth this extravagance? My hands shook, not from anger, but from a terrifying coldness that shot up my spine. Had I been living in absolute trust for 10 years, or in a perfectly wrapped deception? I looked at the pure white phalaenopsis in front of me. Beautiful, immaculate. But why did they suddenly feel so fragile and hypocritical? He lied to me. That single thought, clear and sharp, stabbed at my heart like broken glass. Midway subscribe line, gently fade to a shot of Eva picking up her phone or looking determined. By the way, if you're still with me, if this story is pulling you in, hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss what happens next, because trust me, it only gets wilder. Back to the story, maintaining the emotional intensity. After the initial shock came a chilling calm, the kind that settles in after a severe injury, before the real pain hits. I didn't scream. I didn't break anything. I simply walked inside, poured myself a glass of ice water. The cold liquid scorched my throat, but it cleared my mind. My brain began to work. What should I do? Call him, scream, "Where are you?" Only to be fed another elaborate lie? I had already wasted 10 years trusting him. I couldn't afford to be a fool for another second. I needed the truth. I scrolled through my contacts. Mom? No, her heart couldn't take the worry. I needed a cooler head, someone who could act. My eyes stopped at Chloe, my best friend since college. Unlike me, she'd forged a fierce, independent career as a lawyer. She detested hypocrisy. If anyone could help, it was Chloe. She answered on the second ring, her voice bright. "What's up? Did the lady of the brownstones suddenly miss her poor friend? Or do you have another flower planting project?" "Chloe," I said, my voice thin, a whisper of the calm I was feigning. "Are you free now? I need your help." Her cheerfulness vanished. "Ava? What's wrong? Your voice. What did Ethan do?" Chloe knew me. She knew when I wasn't joking. I stumbled through the fragments. Ethan said he went to the Hamptons. For 15 days, a secret project, no calls, no texts. Secret? Chloe's voice rose. Smells fishy. A secret from his own wife. 15 minutes ago, I interrupted, cutting straight to the bone. The black card on my account was used for $4,000 at Arya restaurant on the Upper East Side. A beat of silence. The silence of a sharp legal mind processing a case. Arya? Chloe's voice was now dangerously quiet. The French restaurant he called extravagant. The one you wanted for your anniversary? Yes, I choked out. That one. That bastard, she spat. I told you not to trust your husband too much. $4,000 is definitely a problem. What do you want now? Should I send someone over immediately? No. I was firm. Not a scandal. Not yet. I need the truth. You're a lawyer. You have your methods. Investigate. Who is he with? Arya is luxury. They'll have cameras, reservation lists. Understood, Chloe said, her voice now pure steel. Send me the card info, your account number, a clear photo of Ethan. I have contacts. But, Ava, are you really okay? I looked at my orchids again, their white petals still perfect. I don't know, I confessed, but don't worry. I won't fall apart. I hung up. I knew, with an absolute certainty, that from this moment, my life would never be the same. I don't know how long I sat motionless on the patio. The sun had completely vanished, leaving behind only an ominous orange streak, heralding a long, dark night. The scent of orchids, once comforting, now sickened me. Dinner was unthinkable. In the vast house, only the rhythmic ticking of the grandfather clock echoed, each beat a hammer blow against my empty chest. I tried to cling to a fragile hope. Maybe it really is an important business partner. Maybe it's a female CEO. Maybe $4,000 is just a deposit for a massive contract. But that hope shattered at 10 p.m. when my phone buzzed with a message from Chloe. Not a text, but a warning. Take a deep breath. Sit down. Then open this. My hands trembled despite myself. I'd told Chloe I wouldn't fall apart, but my body was betraying me. Blood drained from my face. My hands and feet turned to ice. I clicked the video file. 30 seconds. The angle was imperfect, likely a surreptitious recording or a security camera clip. But those 30 seconds were enough to end a decade of marriage. It was Ethan. Wearing the same suit I'd ironed that morning, his jacket off, looking relaxed. He was in Arya's luxurious setting, and he wasn't alone. Across from him sat a young woman with long, light brown hair, fair skin, in a wine-colored silk slip dress. I recognized her. Charlotte, the new intern at his company. I'd met her once, 3 months ago, when I brought Ethan lunch at the office. He'd introduced her dismissively. This is Charlotte, an intern in my department. She'd politely greeted me, hello, Mrs. Reed. With such delicious food, it's no wonder Mr. Cole praises you so much. In this 30-second video, Ethan was carefully, tenderly, placing a large piece of lobster onto Charlotte's plate with a silver fork. He smiled at her with a sweetness and affection I hadn't seen directed at me in 5 years, his eyes filled with a deep, consuming passion. Charlotte leaned back, laughing heartily, then leaned forward, her finger gently wiping a smudge of sauce from near his mouth, an act of blatant, intimate familiarity. Ethan didn't pull away. He took her hand, brought it to his lips, and kissed it. 30 seconds. The video ended. My phone clacked dryly onto the cold granite floor. Betrayed. Not a business partner. Not a passing fling. This was a deep, secret relationship. He was using my money, the card I gave him, to wine and dine a girl half my age. A pain shot through my chest, yet no tears came. They had dried up long ago. A wave of nausea rose in my throat. I had given up my brilliant career at Reed Landscapes. I had sacrificed my youth to be the stable support for this liar. I tended my garden, only to discover a venomous snake within it. The phone lay dark on the floor, but the 30-second video replayed in my mind, Ethan holding Charlotte's hand, his loving smile, the kiss. Each frame a fresh blade in my hardened heart. I slid down the cold wall. This brownstone, this garden, which I'd thought was my heaven, the fruit of my sacrifice, was merely a gilded cage. I was the bird who locked herself in while the owner went looking for another, younger one. The phone rang again. Chloe. I took a deep breath, fighting the tremor that ran through me, and picked it up. I got it. Did you see it? Chloe's voice was urgent, laced with raw rage. I couldn't answer. My throat was too tight. That bastard. Ethan. That damn bastard. Chloe cursed, unable to contain herself. That girl is Charlotte, the intern. I knew her face looked familiar. What are you going to do now? Go over there and smash everything. Chloe, I interrupted, my voice unnervingly calm, utterly devoid of tears. Are you at the office now? She stopped, surprised by my tone. Yes, I'm here. Waiting for your call. You're my lawyer, right? Of course I am. What are you saying? I'm your friend. I took another deep breath. The coldness spread from my heart, down my spine. I don't need you to be my friend right now. I need you to be my lawyer. You're a lawyer, right? You need to be colder than me. Silence again. I knew Chloe understood. She switched from furious friend to sharp legal counsel. Speak. I'm listening. Her voice was now crisp, professional. First, I said, standing up and walking to the desk where our household documents were kept, prepare the procedures to immediately freeze all of our joint marital accounts. Freeze? Chloe questioned. Are you sure? He'll find out immediately. He'll call you. He'll find out, I replied, my voice firm. But it will be too late. This brownstone is in both our names. The down payment my parents gave me, it's joint property now. I can't let him touch the assets. I noticed, almost clinically, the shift in my language. My beloved husband, Ethan, had died in that 30-second video. What remained was merely a stranger named Ethan Cole. Understood, Chloe said. But to freeze joint accounts, we need a valid reason. You need to file for divorce to give us the legal basis for an emergency freeze. No, I stated firmly. Not yet. If I divorce now, I give him and that woman freedom. I need another reason. I don't want court yet. I looked around the lavish room. Chloe, if I report to the bank, as the primary cardholder, that I suspect my husband is committing fraud or using marital property for illegal purposes, would that be enough for them to temporarily freeze the accounts? Chloe was silent for a few seconds. Legally, it's sufficient. The bank can temporarily suspend to protect client assets, especially for a VIP client. But it will cause a scandal. I need a scandal, I said, a grim smile touching my lips. I want him to realize I'm not the idiot he's been manipulating for the last 10 years. I hung up with Chloe. I didn't allow myself a second of regret or fear. They say if pain doesn't kill you, it turns you into steel. At that moment, my heart felt harder than stone. 10 years. I was a submissive wife for 10 years. I stepped back. And this was the price. I immediately looked up the number for Mr. Davies, Director of Preferred Client Services at our VIP bank. He'd managed my accounts for 5 years, always polite, always sending flowers on my birthday, inviting me to exclusive investment programs. Now was the time for those preferred services. It was almost 11 p.m., but the phone rang only 3 times before he answered. Mr. Davies' voice was still gentle. Mrs. Reed, good evening. You're calling me at this hour? Is there an emergency? Mr. Davies, I interrupted, my voice surprisingly calm, brokering no interruptions. I'm calling about an emergency. I need you to handle 2 things immediately. First, cancel the secondary credit card. The number is, I read out Ethan's black card numbers, memorized from years of paying his statements. Cancel? Right now? Mr. Davies sounded shocked. Ma'am, this is a maximum limit VIP card. Mr. Cole is on a business trip. He might have an emergency. I know, I cut him off. And I am requesting the cancellation. I am the primary holder. I have the right. Cancel it now. Yes, yes. Understood. I'll block the card immediately. What's the second matter? His voice was already tense. The second matter is, I took a deep breath. I, Ava Reed, co-owner of the joint accounts. I gave him the numbers for our 3 joint accounts, checking, stocks, and our $50,000 savings. I request the bank apply an emergency measure to temporarily freeze all transactions from these accounts. This time, Mr. Davies was silent longer. I could hear him suck in his breath. Mrs. Reed, could you state the reason? This is very complicated, as Mr. Cole is also a co-owner. The reason I emphasized each word is that I, the primary owner of the majority of these assets, have sufficient grounds to suspect my husband, Mr. Ethan Cole, is using joint assets for illegal purposes and committing fraud. And he is currently showing signs of liquidating assets. Fraud, illegal, liquidating assets. The legal terms Chloe had whispered to me. The director on the other end was genuinely panicked. Ma'am, calm down. This is very serious. If you state so, according to client protection regulations, I will immediately notify the system to temporarily block all online and over-the-counter transactions. Please come to the nearest branch tomorrow at 8 a.m. to sign the paperwork. Good, I replied concisely. I'll be there. I don't want a single dollar withdrawn from those accounts from this moment on. Do you understand? Yes, understood. I'll process it immediately. I hung up. The room fell into immediate silence. I looked at my hand, still clutching the phone. It wasn't trembling. For 10 years, these hands had cooked, cleaned, planted, massaged his tired shoulders. Now, with these same hands, I was freezing everything that was his. I had cut off his financial channels. I had cut off his retreat. The $4,000 appetizer at Arya was truly expensive. Now it was time for me to serve the main course. I didn't know how Ethan would react, but I knew he would call, and I was ready. I couldn't sleep that night. I sat on the patio, looking at the orchid garden shrouded in darkness, my mind just as dark. Every time I closed my eyes, that 30-second video played with cruel clarity. Ethan's kiss, Charlotte's laugh, the $4,000 bill, a pantomime mocking the 10 years of youth I'd buried in this brownstone. At 7:05 a.m., I arrived at Chloe's office. My eyes were swollen from the sleepless night, my face pale. I knew I looked wretched. Chloe emerged from a conference room, sharp and authoritative in a tailored black suit, her hair pulled back. Her usual cheerful eyes were replaced by a suppressed rage. She pushed a hot coffee into my hand. "Drink it. You look like death warmed over." I shook my head. "I can't." "Did you finish everything?" Chloe sat across from me, crossing her arms. "I finished. At 8 o'clock, I sent your confirmation paperwork to the bank director. Everything is frozen." His black card? Officially a useless piece of plastic. A fleeting sense of relief washed over me, but it couldn't fill the void. "Thank you." Chloe's gaze was penetrating. "Ava, now answer me calmly as your lawyer. What do you want? Just to warn him and vent your anger? Or do you want a divorce?" Divorce. Why did the word sound so strange, so painful? For 10 years, I'd given up everything to be that man's wife, pushed Reed landscapes aside. And now divorce? I really don't know. Chloe sighed, stood, and paced. "Look, if you just want to warn him, he'll come back, beg forgiveness, swear on heaven and earth. And then what? He'll go back to his old ways, but he'll be more secretive, more cunning. You'll live your whole life in doubt." I saw Ethan's kiss at Arya again. "No, I can't take it anymore." "Then it's divorce," Chloe stated, a certainty, not a question. "If you decide to divorce, you have to be ready to fight. Ethan isn't an idiot. He and his family won't let you go easily with anything. I want a divorce." My voice was suddenly clear, ringing with a newfound resolve. "But before I divorce, I want to know exactly what I had for the last 10 years, and what he secretly took from me." Chloe smiled. It was a cold, calculating smile. "Good. This is the Ava Reed I know." She pulled up a chair, opening a folder. "I did a preliminary investigation. The biggest asset is the brownstone on the Upper East Side. It's in both your names." I nodded. The house was essentially a gift from my parents, who'd put up most of the money. "I froze the joint savings and stock accounts," Chloe continued. "The problem is, he surely has personal accounts. Do you know his exact salary?" I hesitated. He told me the company held his salary and bonuses in a deferred compensation fund. Every month, he only gave me $2,500 for household expenses, management, and the garden. Chloe scoffed, a sound of pure contempt. $2,500? You believe that, Ava? He's a senior director, in charge of billion-dollar projects, and his take-home pay is only $2,500? He's been playing you for 10 years. I bowed my head. That night, the storm Chloe predicted arrived. I was sitting by the koi pond, watching the fish swim, blissfully unaware of betrayal. My phone vibrated on the stone table, my husband. A name I'd saved 10 years ago, now an ineffable mockery. I didn't answer. I just watched it ring, go to voicemail, ring again, as if in a fit of rage. I counted. 1 call. 2. 10. My phone rang again as I discussed the brownstone sale with Mark, Chloe's recommended real estate agent. Mark, a polite middle-aged man, looked awkward. "Mrs. Reed, aren't you going to answer? It seems urgent." I forced a smile. "No, probably just spam. I block those numbers." I put it on silent. In my mind, I pictured the rage growing on the other end of the line. After Mark left, the house was silent. I turned my phone back on. 66 missed calls. 66. What a number. I laughed, but it felt like crying. 66 missed calls. Not because he missed me. Not because he worried. Because he could no longer spend money. My fingers trembled as I scrolled. He'd been calling like a madman for 2 hours. He'd probably tried to take his mistress shopping after their extravagant meal or pay for a five-star hotel. And he had failed. Just then, a new notification. You have a new voicemail. My heart pounded. What had to come had come. I took a deep breath, hands still shaking, and brought the phone to my ear. I had to hear his reaction. After the beep, Ethan's voice screamed. How did your top-secret geological survey in the Hamptons end up on the Upper East Side in Manhattan? A chilling silence. I could hear his heavy breathing. He was scrambling for a lie. You. What nonsense. Are you talking about? His voice dropped, probing, panic evident. Who told you that? I prolonged my voice sarcastically. Perhaps your partner said so. The brown-haired partner in a red dress sitting at Arya. Isn't $4,000 a bit extravagant for client entertainment? You were spying on me? His voice became threatening. The rage of being caught replaced his confusion. I don't care, I replied, my voice frosty. Your job is to entertain, isn't it? Oh, and I forgot one thing. What thing? He asked, wary. The brownstone on the Upper East Side, I said, and smiled, though he couldn't see it. A strange satisfaction washed over me. I've put it up for sale. The real estate agent called this morning. There are clients offering a good price. We'll probably sign the papers this weekend. What? This time, his scream was a shriek of pure, unadulterated panic and rage. Are you crazy? Ava Reed, how dare you? That's my house. It's our house. You have no right to do that until I get back to the States. Get back to the States? I retorted, my composure finally breaking, my voice rising. You had no right to rent a restaurant to spend our money on your mistress. I froze the accounts, canceled the black card, and the house will be sold soon. I hope your survey was pleasant. Now figure out how you'll get back to the States. I didn't wait. I pressed end call. I knew Ethan, cornered, would call his greatest ally, his mother, Eleanor. I understood this family. They had a strange sense of unity, especially when protecting their precious son. An hour later, Eleanor's name flashed on my screen. I'd saved it with new daughter-in-law respect 10 years ago. Now, it only brought fatigue. I took a deep breath, trying to sound normal. Hello, Eleanor. Immediately, without a greeting, a miserable wail poured through the phone, like something from the soap operas she loved. Oh my God, Ava. Ava, how could you do this to your husband? Will you only be satisfied when that boy dies on the street? I stayed silent, letting her cry. This was an act I'd seen for 10 years. Every conflict, she'd use tears to resolve, and I'd always end up apologizing. Since I didn't react, her crying stopped as abruptly as a switch flipping. Her tone sharpened. Are you going to keep playing dumb? Ethan just called me, crying. He said you froze his card and his accounts. What are you doing? Who do you think that boy is suffering for? It's for this house. It's for you. How could you be such an unreasonable and inconsiderate woman? Unreasonable. I repeated the word. It was a dull knife, twisting in my ear. I laughed, a cold, humorless sound. Eleanor, am I the unreasonable one, or is your son? He told me he went to the Hamptons to investigate, but he used $4,000 of our money to dine at a luxury restaurant on the Upper East Side with another woman. In your eyes, that's him suffering for me. A chilling silence. I knew Ethan would never have told her those details. But I underestimated her. Eleanor was a seasoned actress. After a few seconds of surprise, she changed the script. The crying returned, even more desperate. Oh, sweetie, I know you're hurt. But you have to understand, men can't help but fall into temptation. Maybe he made a temporary mistake. If you make a scandal like this, people will laugh at our family. You have to handle this privately. Patience is a woman's virtue. If you sell the house, where will the children grow up later? Think about it again. Mistake, I wanted to cry, but I actually laughed. Eleanor, where is there a $4,000 mistake? I sacrificed my career at Reed Landscapes to serve at home, and he's using our money to entertain a young woman half my age. You. She stopped crying again, turning nasty. What are you saying so disrespectfully? How dare you talk to your mother-in-law like that? I'm not speaking disrespectfully, I cut her off, my voice colder than ice. I'm just telling the truth. I can no longer be the cash cow this whole family makes fun of. If you don't reactivate the accounts now, don't blame me for becoming a monster. I'll go to your house right now. I didn't give her a chance to continue threatening. I hung up with determination. I slumped onto the cold floor. Infidelity. That's how all men are. It turned out everyone knew. They knew and they defended it. They took my sacrifice for granted and considered his betrayal a small mistake. This whole family was rotten to the core. I no longer had any doubts. After the call, I sat in a daze for hours. This family wasn't just defenders, they were accomplices. Together, they put on a play, and I was the only stupid character who believed it was real. The pain of emotional betrayal now curdled into a cold rage at this betrayal of intimacy and trust. For 10 years, I'd considered Eleanor my mother. But all I got was a knife in the back. I didn't cry. Perhaps my tears had dried up last night. Or perhaps the rage froze them. I only felt an infinite disgust. The next morning, I woke with swollen eyes. I tried to swallow oatmeal, but my throat was dry. Eleanor's call had been poison, killing my last affection, my last illusion about the family I'd tried so hard to belong to. As I sat listlessly in my orchid garden, my phone dinged. An unknown number. I almost ignored it, but a premonition made me click. The account name, Charlotte. The profile picture, a pouting young woman. The first message, without greeting, was just a photo. A luxury yacht. Blue sea, clear sky. Charlotte, Ethan's mistress, in a red bikini, flaunting her youth. She was smiling, the smile of a winner. But what paralyzed me was the clear reflection in her designer sunglasses. Ethan, shirtless, holding a glass of wine, taking the photo. That man, my husband, who screamed he was humiliated with no money, whose mother cried he was suffering far away. They still had cash. They'd planned this meticulously, celebrating their triumph with our money. My hands trembled. I was her age once, too. I was the pride of Reed Landscapes. But I'd abandoned that brilliance to be a wife, a stay-at-home mom. I was just a foolish guardian of the safe, watching over the money so he could give it to another woman. Ding. Another message. Mrs. Reed, Mr. Cole said you are a wise person. He said, now that you are older, you should know when to let go if you want to keep your last bit of dignity. Asterisk older. Dignity. Asterisk she was provoking me, trying to incite a scandal so she could play the innocent victim, harassed by the old wife. I looked at the photo. No rage. No jealousy. Just disgust, like seeing a triumphant fly on a plate of cold food. I didn't answer. I didn't curse. I did two things. I saved the photo and message, sending them to an email folder titled Evidence. Then I deleted the conversation and blocked her number. This childish provocation wasn't worth my attention. My fight wasn't a social media spat. My fight was a legal battle, a battle for assets. I didn't need the dignity she offered. I needed everything that was mine. My biggest asset was this brownstone. The product of 10 years of passion, my parents' wedding gift. I couldn't let it fall into their hands. I called Mark, Chloe's agent. Mr. Mark, I said, my voice calm and clear. I've decided. I'm selling urgently. Can you speed up the process, even if we have to lower the price a bit? Mark seemed surprised. Mrs. Reed, don't worry. Your house is a rare gem. The clients who saw the photos are captivated. This orchid garden you designed, it's the soul of the house. I smiled sadly. Captivated. I loved this house the most. Mr. Mark, if they truly want the house, please ask them to keep the garden. Rest assured, he replied. I'll find you a worthy new owner. I expected weeks, even months. But I was wrong. 2 days later, Mark called, euphoric. Mrs. Reed, good news. Very good news. We have a heavyweight client. Americans returning to the States. They were speechless at the photos. They said the house has very good energy, and your orchid garden is beautiful. I listened in silence. They don't even want to see the house in person. They trust your design. They want to put down the earnest money immediately. Didn't haggle a single cent. They only have one request. What request? I asked, anxious. They want to buy your entire orchid garden. Mark hesitated. They said the house would lose its soul without it. They're willing to pay an additional $25,000 for all your precious orchids and maintenance costs. They asked you not to take anything, $25,000. I stood in a daze. My 10 years of youth, the 10 years I gave up Reed Landscapes, the watering, fertilizing, pruning, valued at $25,000. It was ridiculous, yet a wave of validation washed over me. At least someone recognized the value of my silent sacrifice. Okay, my voice choked. Tell them. I accept. I'll leave everything. Excellent. Mark rejoiced. So, can we schedule the signing this weekend? They want to pay 90% in cash in one go. I hung up and looked at the garden. For 10 years, it had been my joy, my pride, and the gilded cage that trapped me. Now, it was the key that freed me. Asterisk goodbye, my private Reed Landscapes. Thank you for giving me my first $25,000 to start a new life. Asterisk the news that I'd frozen accounts and listed the brownstone spread miraculously fast. Ethan and his mother, in their fury, must have called everyone, painting me as a cruel, heartless wife. The well-meaning people started to appear. First, Laura, Ethan's cousin. Her voice, usually gentle, was awkward. Ava, I heard what happened. Ethan was wrong. Very wrong. I gave him a piece of my mind, but... Ava, she hesitated. I waited. You're a woman. You have to understand, men are weak. He made a mistake. If you make a scandal like this, it just embarrasses the whole family. Handle it privately. You have to be patient. That's what being a wife is about. If you sell the house, where will the children grow up later? Think about it again. I hung up. I couldn't bear another word. Patience? I'd been patient for 10 years, patient to the point of losing my career, my youth. And now I was supposed to be patient so he could give my money to his mistress? Next, Andrew, Ethan's best friend. His tone was condescendingly understanding. Ava, it's Andrew. I really laid into Ethan. But you're his wife. You have to understand his temper. If you cut off all his money, how's he supposed to live? He's stuck abroad. And if he does something impulsive, it's not good for you if he collapses. You have to give him a way out. A way out? I felt like crying, but I laughed. Who gave me a way out when I gave up Reed Landscapes to be a housewife? Who gave me a way out when he embraced a young mistress at Arya? I didn't answer Andrew. I hung up again. Then came a flood of messages from college classmates, the neighbor next door worried I didn't look happy, all advising me to calm down, rethink, forgive. I was fed up with the hypocritical advice. They didn't live my life. They weren't in this house. They didn't know what I'd endured. They were just outside, judging. I turned off my phone. I wanted to be alone. I walked into my home office, a room I'd barely entered in 10 years. A thin layer of dust covered the bookshelves, filled with my books on landscape architecture, bonsai, garden design. On the wall hung the first 3D design blueprint of Reed Landscapes, finished after an all-nighter. It had once been my pride, my ambition. I sat down and turned on the computer. It had been too long since I'd touched the design software. My hands trembled slightly, but my brain sparked to life. I opened a new file and started drawing, a rooftop garden on a skyscraper, full of sun, with hanging orchids and a small koi pond. I was drawing my new life. Once finished, I opened social media. I posted only one photo, the screenshot of the 3D design. My caption was simple: first draft for a new life. Rebooting Reed Landscapes. I turned my phone back on. No text messages. No calls. For the first time in 24 hours, silence. The well-meaning people had fallen silent. They no longer advised forgiveness. They knew I wasn't playing games. I wasn't just leaving Ethan. I was rebuilding my own empire. My post silenced them, but it ignited the dying powder keg of Ethan Cole. He had truly become a stranger, an enemy. He'd failed to pressure me through his mother, failed through his friends. Now he'd confront me himself. He was still stuck abroad, penniless. The rage of being financially cut off, combined with the shock that I dared to publicly sell his house and restart my career, transformed him into a beast. The first message came from a new, anonymous account. Ava Reed, you really are something. How dare you put my house up for sale? How dare you announce your new life? Who do you think you are, using that old name, Read Landscapes again? I read it. Still rage. Still arrogance. He still thought I was the weak kitten from 10 years ago. Still thought I'd be afraid. I didn't answer. I screenshotted it, sent it to Chloe, additional evidence. Threatening content. A few hours later, a second message arrived. More vulgar, more threatening. You're going to play dumb? You think you can sell the house without my signature? Don't even dream of it. When I get back to the States, I won't forgive you. How dare you touch my assets? How dare you touch my mother? You'll see. I'll make you kneel and beg for my forgiveness. I read it, but my heart didn't flinch. You won't forgive me? I hadn't known peace in 10 years. I'd lived a false peace at the cost of my career and pride. Now, I'd rather be myself. I screenshotted it again, sent it to Chloe, threat evidence, #2. A day passed. No reply from me. His rage couldn't solve his hunger or buy a plane ticket. He began to be afraid. A man accustomed to luxury, to being served, now trapped in an unknown place without money. Rage couldn't defeat desperation. Around midnight, a third message came from an unknown number. He'd borrowed a phone. The tone had completely changed. Ava, honey, those 2 words made me nauseous. The man who'd just threatened and growled was now trying to play the pathetic victim. Ava, I was wrong. That girl deceived me. I fell into her trap. I read it and just laughed. Even now, he was blaming someone else. He still thought I was a fool who would fall for a few sweet words. Another message instantly followed. Ava, I really have no money. I'm stuck here. I'm so hungry. Honey, don't you have any feelings left for me? And then, the line I knew was coming. It's 10 years. 10 years of marriage. How can you do this? 10 years. He dared to mention 10 years. The 10 years I buried my youth in the kitchen. The 10 years I gave up my ambition. The 10 years I worked like a slave for his family. He was trying to trade those 10 years for a plane ticket and forgiveness for his $4,000 meal with his mistress. Come back, Tuck. I'll fix everything. I'll kick that girl out. I'll kneel and beg for your forgiveness, Ava. I looked at the phone screen, my heart cold. Affection, the word sounded so cheap from his mouth. I screenshotted it, additional evidence, manipulation and pleading. I turned off my phone, tossed it on the velvet sofa. The room was so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat, a heavy, tired rhythm. Ethan's false plea didn't move me. It filled me with disgust. 10 years. Yes, 10 years. I needed to know how he valued those 10 years. The rebooting Read Landscapes post had been an impulsive act of rage, but it reminded me of who I was. Not just a crying housewife. I was an architect once, someone who worked with numbers, with logic. Now it was time to use that logic to price this marriage. I went into Ethan's study, a room I'd barely set foot in for a decade. He'd always called it his private space. The smell of tobacco and old paper stung my nose. I turned on the light. Everything was artificially tidy. I opened the drawer of his hardwood desk where he kept important documents. Locked, of course. But I was his wife for 10 years. I knew where he kept the spare key. Under the money plant in the corner. The arrogance of a man who thought himself clever, thought his housewife would never find it. I opened the drawer. Documents, neatly arranged, contracts, insurance, bank statements from numerous accounts I didn't even know existed. He told me $2,500 a month covered all our family expenses. It was just the tip of an iceberg. I sat on the floor, spreading everything out. My eyes fixed on the numbers. My already cold heart felt like it was being squeezed. Expense reports in the 6 figures. Weekly cash withdrawals and entertainment expenses. And here was his official salary account. The real number was 5 times what he told me. 5 times. I laughed, but it felt like crying. I had lived in a gigantic deception. I wasn't his wife. I was a housekeeper, paid $2,500 a month to take care of this brownstone and garden, while he built another home with our money, the money I saved by giving up Read Landscapes. The $4,000 meal at Aria wasn't a mistake. It was a habit. One of countless performances I knew nothing about. I was so foolish to fall for holding down the fort. I trusted his promise. You stay at home. I'll take care of everything. It turned out he was taking care of everything in his world, a world without me. I sat amidst the documents until the first sunlight filtered through the crack under the door. The coffee had long gone cold. I felt disgusted, but I couldn't stop. I had to know everything. My eyes stopped on a particular transfer record at a recurring transfer. Not as large as others, only $2,500, but regular as clockwork. My eyes, already dry from the sleepless night, stung as they read, Internal transfer, beneficiary, Mrs. Rosa Gomez. Amount, $2,500. Exactly the same amount he gave me every month. He was transferring the same amount to another woman named Mrs. Rosa Gomez. A woman's intuition screamed this was not a simple problem. With trembling hands, I checked the transaction history. June 15th, May 15th, April 15th. I scrolled back. My heart began to pound. This wasn't recent. It had been ongoing. I scrolled further, my mind growing colder and colder. 2 years. Asterisk, oh my God. For 2 years, asterisk without fail. Exactly $2,500 transferred on the 15th of every month. I quickly grabbed a calculator. $2,500 multiplied by 24 months. $60,000. Who was Mrs. Rosa Gomez? I searched my memories. A completely unknown name. Not my relative, much less Ethan's. Friend? No one transfers $2,500 to a friend every month for 2 years. A chill ran down my spine. This wasn't a mistake. As Eleanor had said, this wasn't just infidelity. This was a plan. A long-term, systematic plan. He wasn't just having an affair. He was supporting another woman. He was investing our money, the money I saved by giving up Reed Landscapes, in another woman. This betrayal was far colder than the 30-second video. The kiss at Arya could be lust. But $60,000 transferred over 2 years was calculation. Intentional deception. Complete disregard for me. Who did they think I was? An idiot? An ATM? I didn't cry. I couldn't anymore. I only felt rage. A cold rage that surged from the depths of my heart. This rage was enough to burn these 10 years of false marriage to ashes. I didn't call Ethan. I didn't text insults. I did one thing. I screenshotted all the transaction records to Mrs. Rosa Gomez from the first month to the last, capturing the total, $60,000. I sent everything to Chloe with a single line. Chloe, investigate who Mrs. Rosa Gomez is and what he supported with our $60,000 for the last 2 years. It was 6 a.m. I knew Chloe was an early riser. I needed a shower. My body smelled of hatred and cold sweat from the sleepless night. I stood under the hot water, but I didn't feel warm. I felt cold to the bone. $60,000. The number echoed in my head. He took from me. From us. For 10 years at home, I was frugal. I refused designer bags, luxury trips, because he said we had to save for the future. It turned out the future he mentioned was his future with another woman. As soon as I stepped out of the shower, my hair wrapped in a towel, my phone rang loudly. Chloe. Her voice wasn't that of a lawyer, but of a friend so furious she was losing control. Are you sitting or standing now? Standing. Tell me. Do you have the results? I answered calmly, my heart pounding wildly. Sit down. Chloe almost screamed. Sit down right now. I slumped onto the edge of the bed. Mrs. Rosa Gomez. Chloe took a deep breath, as if holding back a torrent of profanity. 60 years old. From the outskirts of New York. No stable employment. 60 years old? I was more confused. Ethan would never. Who is she? My voice cracked. Chloe was silent for a few seconds, then spoke each word clearly, as if afraid I wouldn't hear. Ava, she's Charlotte's mother. Charlotte's mother. The phone fell from my hand, landing silently on the wool carpet. But something exploded in my ears. Charlotte's mother. The mother of the 20-year-old intern. The mother of the woman in the 30-second video. $60,000. $2,500 a month to the mistress's mother. I could no longer feel what my emotions were. It wasn't pain. It was disgust. A nauseating disgust. He wasn't just having an affair. He hadn't just made a mistake. He was playing the role of a devoted son to his mistress's mother. With my money. With our money. I picked up the phone. Chloe was still screaming. Do you understand what I'm saying? That bastard was supporting not just his mistress, but her whole family. $2,500 a month. That woman was living like a queen. He was using your money, the money you sacrificed from Reed Landscapes, to support another family. Ava, are you listening to me? I'm listening. My voice was strangely calm. I'm listening, and I understand everything. What do you understand? Chloe stopped, surprised by my composure. I understand, I said, standing and walking to the closet. He hasn't been my husband for a long time. He's been a thief and a con man. When the truth finally comes out, no matter how cruel, people no longer feel pain. Only rage. And a single goal. Chloe, I cut her off. Prepare the divorce papers. But I don't just want a divorce. I don't just want half the assets. I want everything. I'll make him pay for these 10 years of youth. Principal plus interest. I arrived at Chloe's office at 9 a.m. I was not the soulless, swollen-eyed woman of a few days ago. I wore the white suit I used to wear for my Reed Landscapes presentations. My hair was pulled back, my makeup carefully applied. I was here not as a betrayed wife, but as a partner coming to discuss an important deal. Chloe looked at me, her gaze shifting from surprise to profound respect. You're amazing. I was worried you'd lock yourself in the house crying or do something foolish. I smiled coldly. Crying, Chloe? Tears can't get back $60,000. Good. Chloe tapped her pen on the desk. Then let's get to work. With this $60,000 proof, we can not only file for divorce, but for fraudulent dissipation of marital assets. If we go to court, you'll definitely get the majority. He won't be able to lift his head. Just sign here. Chloe slid a folder across the desk. As I reached for the pen, Chloe suddenly said, Wait. I looked at her. What is it? No, it's nothing. Chloe wasn't looking at me. Her brow was furrowed, her eyes fixed on her computer screen. I asked my paralegal to double-check the brownstones information on the property registry for your sale, Eva. Chloe's voice suddenly turned serious. Come and see this. A premonition, worse than when I heard Mrs. Rosa Gomez's name, woke in my heart. I walked over. On the screen was the title deed information for my house. Look at this, Chloe pointed to small print in the notes section. Your house has a lien on it. It's mortgaged. Mortgaged. I repeated mechanically. That doesn't make sense. I didn't sign any documents. This house was my parents' money. It's mortgaged. Chloe's voice was like a wedge, and not for a small amount. He took out a $500,000 loan against it. If $60,000 was a slap, $500,000 was a bullet straight to my head. No, it's not possible. I screamed, my hard-won composure completely crumbling. Chloe, a $500,000 loan requires my signature. I'm a co-owner. Never. Calm down. Chloe grabbed my shoulder, shaking me hard. Listen to me. Look at the date of the mortgage. I squinted. 6 months ago. Exactly 6 months ago, Chloe said, her eyes burning with rage. Remember? Did you sign any strange documents 6 months ago? 6 months ago. My head was spinning. Yes. At that time, Ethan told me the company needed large capital for an important project. He said it was a golden opportunity. He brought a thick folder of documents and told me to sign quickly, saying they were internal documents and his boss was waiting. Oh my God, I crumbled. I signed. He said it was an internal guarantee document. He pointed to where to sign. I didn't read it. Chloe, oh Chloe. Chloe slammed her fist on the desk. The boom startled me. That bastard tricked you. He tricked you into signing a power of attorney or a mortgage consent. He took $500,000 from your parents' house. I didn't hear anything else. $60,000. He used that to support his mistress. And this $500,000? Where did this $500,000 go? The top secret survey trip to the Hamptons project? Suddenly, everything snapped into place. He didn't go to investigate. He went to finalize that $500,000. He was planning to escape. He was going to leave with $500,000 and his young mistress, leaving me with a foreclosed house and a gigantic debt. The $4,000 meal at Aria was just the celebration of his successful deal. Eva. Chloe's voice brought me back. Her face was pale, but her eyes were fierce. Listen carefully. This is no longer just a divorce. This is no longer a civil case. She grabbed my hand tightly, emphasizing each word. This is a crime. Your husband is a criminal. Fraud and embezzlement. I looked at Chloe. The tears had dried. The pain was gone. Only a cold emptiness remained. Yes, I said in an eerily calm voice. What should I do with a criminal, Chloe? What's the procedure for filing a criminal complaint? Chloe's voice echoed in the quiet office. Criminal, fraud, penal, each word was a hammer blow to my chest. $500,000. The number was so large it felt abstract. It was no longer money. It was an abyss. I must have staggered. Chloe quickly held me up, sat me down. Eva, are you listening to me? You have to calm down. Now is not the time to faint. Calm down? How could I? 6 months ago, I remembered vividly. Ethan came home, face alight with excitement. He talked about a golden opportunity, an internal investment project the company only offered to executives. It was the chance to change our lives, he said. I'd never have to worry about anything again. He brought a thick folder, full of technical jargon I didn't understand. He flipped through pages, pointing to an X. Sign quickly. My boss is waiting. It's just an internal guarantee procedure. We have to trust each other as a couple, right? Don't you trust me? I trusted him, as I had for 10 years. I signed without reading a single word. I signed a power of attorney or a mortgage consent. I signed the death sentence of my marriage and my assets. How stupid I was. The emotional betrayal hurt, but this financial deception, this cold calculation to embezzle using my absolute trust, filled me with a disgust beyond words. He wasn't just a bad husband. He was a professional con man. Chloe, I looked at her, my voice dry. $60,000 he used to support his mistress. And this $500,000, what was he going to do with it? Chloe's eyes were full of pity, but also steely resolve. You still don't know. He scammed you. He used your parents' house, your assets, to borrow $500,000. He was preparing his escape. He was going to leave with that $500,000 and his mistress, leaving you with a gigantic debt and a house that would be foreclosed on by the bank. My heart stopped. Selling the house. Now, selling this house wasn't revenge. It wasn't even about stopping the bleeding of marital assets. It was a necessity. I needed to sell this house to that buyer. I needed the 90% cash they promised. I needed that money not to get rich, but to immediately pay off the illegal $500,000 debt to the bank. If I didn't pay, the bank would foreclose. And I, as the co-owner, the person who signed under deception, would be the first to be held responsible. I would lose everything. The house, my parents' money, and be in debt for life. Ethan Cole didn't just want to leave me. He wanted to destroy me. He wanted to bury me alive in that debt and shame. Ava, Chloe grabbed my hand tightly. Listen to me. This fight has changed. It's no longer just a simple civil divorce case. It's a criminal case. You are no longer just a wife demanding justice, but a victim who has to fight for her own freedom. I left Chloe's office as if my feet weren't touching the ground. I don't know how I drove back to the brownstone. Everything around me was shrouded in a thick fog. The outside world was noisy, cars busy, but I was trapped in a soundless glass cage. I slumped onto the steps outside the orchid garden. The $25,000 garden. The garden I was once proud of. Now it was the only thing that could save me. Everything became crystal clear. Cruelly clear. I connected all the dots. 6 months ago, he tricked me into signing the mortgage documents, and the bank dispersed $500,000. He had the money, a gigantic amount, enough to start a new life. He started spending more blatantly. This business trip wasn't sudden. It was scheduled. The 15-day, top-secret geological survey trip to the Hamptons was a lie. A carefully crafted lie to give him enough time to transfer the money and disappear. That he took his mistress with him wasn't because she was the reason, she was just the prize. The reward he gave himself after a successful fraudulent deal. The $4,000 meal at Aria? Oh my God. I let out a dry laugh. It wasn't client entertainment. It wasn't a mistake. It was a celebration. Ethan Cole was celebrating with my money, using our house as collateral, the fact that he had just swindled me out of $500,000. He celebrated his impending escape. He celebrated that I was the fool who didn't know I would soon be mired in gigantic debt. His contempt, his cruelty, went beyond infidelity. This was calculated evil. He didn't just want my money. He wanted to destroy me. He wanted me to never hold my head up, to live forever in debt and shame. I immediately picked up my phone. My hands were no longer trembling. They were cold and steady. I called Mark, the real estate agent. Mr. Mark, my voice was calm. It's Ava. Cancel all other house viewings. I've decided. I'm selling it to the American client. Tell them I accept all their conditions. I want to sign the papers this weekend. I need the cash. The sooner, the better. Mark seemed surprised, but quickly grasped the situation. Fantastic, ma'am. I'll call them right away. They'll be delighted. I hung up. I had no other choice. I had to sell. Selling this house wasn't for marital asset division. It was to save my own life. He wanted to bury me alive, but he didn't know. I was the seed. And Reed Landscapes would definitely rise from these ashes. I sat in the brownstone, now an asset waiting to be sold. I turned off my phone. I didn't want to hear any more threats or false pleas from Ethan. I didn't want to hear the calculated crying of his mother. I needed silence. In that silence, I wondered, what was the man who just swindled $500,000, enjoying his business trip with his mistress, doing now? I couldn't see him. But later, when everything came to light, I knew that even my worst imaginings were nothing compared to the cruelty of the real facts. While I was here struggling with a $500,000 debt, Ethan and Charlotte were on a 5-star yacht in some distant sea. They were living the extravagant, frivolous life he once despised. Drinking the most expensive wine, eating food I never dared dream of. Spending money like water. My money. But all parties have an end. My phone call, the freezing of the accounts, the cancellation of the black card, were like throwing a bucket of ice water on their imperial dream. The black card, symbol of Ethan's power, was suddenly declined when he tried to pay for the yacht rental the next day. He was stunned. He pulled out his second and third cards, but all the joint accounts were frozen. His rage, the one that manifested in his 66 missed calls, was real. He couldn't believe his docile wife dared to cut off his lifeline. And the fight began. Not my fight, but theirs. I could imagine how Charlotte, accustomed to wealth, would react when her gold mine ran dry. The sweet Mr. Cole turned into a sharp scream. You promised you'd take care of everything. You said the world would be mine if I stayed by your side. And now what? The cards don't work. Who's paying the hotel bill? You're a con man. And Ethan, the patriarchal man, who always considered himself a king. How could he endure that humiliation? Betrayed financially by his wife, now bitten by his mistress. I imagined him screaming at her, "Shut up. If you hadn't demanded that $2,000 bag, we'd have money for a plane ticket. You're a parasite who only knows how to spend money." Their love, built on my betrayal and my money, was more fragile than seafoam. When the money was gone, only hatred and tearing each other apart remained. The $4,000 party at Aria was their high point. This was the hell they created for themselves. I lived in silence for 2 days. I organized all my old Reed Landscapes documents, blueprints, incomplete contracts. I wiped down every trophy, every forgotten thank you plaque. I realized that in 10 years, I hadn't just lost money, I'd lost myself. I didn't hear from Ethan. He was silent. Eleanor was silent. I assumed they were preparing a bigger storm. On the 3rd day, as I prepared documents for the house sale, my phone dinged. I was so tired of threats or pleas. But this time, it wasn't from Ethan. It was an unknown number. The account name was Charlotte. I frowned. Her again. Last time, a provocative bikini. Now what? Had she and Ethan found a solution and wanted to show off? My first instinct was to block her. But something urged me to open it. It wasn't a photo or provocation. Just 3 words, "Mrs. Reed, save me." I was stunned. Save me? What game was she playing now? I didn't answer. I didn't believe a single tear of hers. A person who willingly accepted $60,000 to support her mother from another woman's husband was capable of anything. A few minutes later, a flood of messages came, as if she'd pre-written them. "Ma'am, I was wrong. I don't dare ask for your forgiveness. Just save me. That man deceived me. Mr. Cole is not human. He's a demon." I just laughed. Demon. A few days ago, wasn't the sophisticated Mr. Cole her gold mine? He ran out of money. That's the next message. You blocked the cards and he doesn't have a penny. He hit me. He locked me in the hotel. He said if I didn't get him money, he would sell me. Ma'am, I'm so scared. I escaped. I'm at the airport now. I don't have a cent. I wasn't a psychologist, but I could piece together the full picture. The fight on the yacht was over. Ethan, penniless, revealed his true nature. Not a sophisticated gentleman, but a cornered tyrant, a thug. Charlotte realized she'd bet on the wrong horse. She didn't love Ethan. She loved his money. When it ran out, she fled. Fled from Ethan, and from the chaos she helped create. But why message me? The last message explained it all. Ma'am, I know you're going to sue him. I have what you need. I have proof. Proof that will make that man unable to lift his head. I can help you. I only ask that you forgive me for the money we received from him. My mother's sin. I will pay it back. I promise. I looked at the phrase, "The enemy of my enemy is my friend." She wasn't my friend. She was a rat fleeing a sinking ship, looking for a new one, willing to sell her old partner for a low price. She thought she could use me. She didn't know I also needed a tool. I looked at the message. Mrs. Reed, save me. Just a few days ago, that same account sent bikini photos, mocking my age. This dramatic shift. I didn't trust anything from her. But I remained patient. I knew this rat didn't come to me crying just to vent. She had bait. Ma'am, I know you're going to sue him. I have this. It's proof that will make that man unable to lift his head. He hid it in the safe in my apartment, and I stole it. I only ask that you forgive me and my mother for the money we received from him. I will pay it back. I promise. I just want to live in peace. Proof, the coup de grace. I raised a corner of my mouth. This rat was quite clever. She knew she needed insurance when she fled. I typed. It was the first time I'd responded. My message must have been cold as ice. What airport are you at now? The response was instant. I'm still stuck abroad. I just escaped to the airport. I don't care where you are, I wrote. I also don't care if he hit you. That's your problem and his. But I'm interested in the proof you mentioned. Yes, it's true. They're double contracts, tax evasion documents. He said it was his biggest secret, and that's how he got rich. He said if it got out, he'd go to jail. Tax evasion, double contracts, a strange emotion stirred. So, the empire he built, the facade of the sophisticated rich director, was built on crime. Monday at 3 p.m., I sent without hesitation. My lawyer's office address, 30 Park Place. Get back to the States however you can. Bring the proof. We'll talk. I hung up without waiting. I knew he would cling to this as his last lifeline. He'd still think I was stupid, that I still loved him, that I wanted to talk privately. He would come, hoping to reverse the situation with crocodile tears. He didn't know he was walking straight into his own final judgment. Chloe's office at 9 a.m. that Monday felt different. The air was tense. I chose a black suit instead of white. The color of the end. I sat with Chloe by my side. Across from us was another lawyer, Mr. Herrera from J Capital, the investment fund. He had a solemn face and piercing eyes. Ethan arrived 5 minutes late. He opened the door himself, but upon seeing me, seeing Chloe, and especially seeing Mr. Herrera, he stopped dead. His appearance was wretched. Beard unkempt, hair greasy, his designer suit wrinkled and smelling of fear and sweat. He was haggard, eyes bloodshot and sunken. Ava, honey, he tried to put on a pitiful voice. He tried to approach me. Sit down, Chloe growled, pointing to the only empty chair in the middle of the room. Ethan stopped. He looked at me, then at Mr. Herrera. He began to realize something was profoundly wrong. He awkwardly pulled up the chair and Saturday, Mr. Ethan Cole, Chloe began, her voice devoid of emotion. Today we are not here to talk about 10 years of affection. Chloe pressed a remote, and the large screen on the wall lit up. Let's get straight to the point. Image 1, the 30-second video at Arya. The scene where he kissed Charlotte. Ethan closed his eyes, gritting his teeth. This is, next, Chloe pressed the remote. The bikini photo on the yacht. Silence. Chloe cut him off. Just look at the screen. She moved to the next slide. The bank statement. The words $2,500 were circled in red. A table calculating the total of $60,000. Ethan began to turn pale. Next, the screen changed to the Brownstones' mortgage contract. The number $500,000 was enlarged, followed by the result of the signature analysis. The signature of Mrs. Ava Reed is concluded to have been obtained under fraudulent pretenses. That's nonsense. Ethan screamed. You signed it yourself. You still trying to lie? I opened my mouth. It was the first time I'd spoken since he entered. You said it was an internal guarantee document, right? Ethan was speechless. He looked at me as if he'd seen a ghost. Finally, Chloe pressed the last slide. The folder of double contracts that Charlotte had brought. This time, Ethan didn't scream. He just sat there panting. Sweat poured down his face. He knew there was no way to deny it. At that moment, Mr. Herrera, the lawyer from J Capital, spoke. His voice was low and firm. Mr. Cole, I represent the J Capital Investment Fund. We have obtained all these documents. We are officially reporting you for commercial fraud and embezzlement. You have been deceiving us for 5 years. No, Mr. Herrera. I was deceived. That girl, Charlotte, she seduced me. Ethan turned to me. He tried to crawl out of the chair to kneel. Ava, save me. Tell him to stop. 10 years. It's been 10 years. I looked at him. The man I once loved was groveling at my feet. My heart didn't stir. There was no pity. No satisfaction. Only an emptiness. Mr. Cole, I said. You don't need to beg me or Mr. Herrera. The person you need to talk to is not us. Ethan looked panicked. Just then, the conference room door opened. 2 uniformed police officers and 2 detectives in plain clothes entered. Mr. Ethan Cole, one detective said, showing his badge. We are the NYPD's Financial Crimes Task Force. We received a report of your tax evasion and fraud. Please accompany us to the station for questioning. Ethan was petrified. He looked at the officers, then at me. The look was no longer pleading. It was pure hatred. But it was too late. 2 cold silver handcuffs snapped around his wrists. He was dragged past me. My 10 years of marriage, my 10 years of youth, my Reed landscapes that I had given up, officially concluded with the dry click of the handcuffs. Transitioned to a more hopeful shot, perhaps Eva in a bright, modern office, looking out a window. 6 months later, I heard news of him through Chloe. The trial was held, the result public. Ethan Cole was sentenced to a total of 18 years on charges of fraud for embezzling $500,000 from me, fraud against J Capital, and tax evasion. 18 years for a lifetime of greed and falsehood. His mother, Eleanor, couldn't overcome the shock. She suffered a stroke and was paralyzed on one side. I heard from old neighbors she was now bedridden, crying and cursing, but no one cared anymore. Charlotte, due to her confession and returning the entire $60,000, received a suspended sentence for her role as an accessory. She disappeared from the city, returned to her hometown, to live another life. I no longer felt hatred or satisfaction. I just felt that everything had returned to its course. You reap what you sow. I stood in my new office. It wasn't large, a small penthouse in an old building, but it was full of sunlight. The walls were covered with design blueprints. They had been forgotten for 10 years, but my skills hadn't disappeared. They were like a seed buried under the rubble of a marriage. Now that the storm had passed, it began to sprout. Chloe came in with 2 cups of coffee. What's wrong? You just got the landscape design contract for the entire new riverfront development. Why the long face? I smiled and took the coffee. I was thinking about what kind of trees to use for the central lake. Chloe laughed. Seeing you now, this is the Ava Reed I knew. I looked out the window. The sky was very blue today. People were still busy below, but my heart was surprisingly at peace. I sold my $25,000 orchid garden, but I got back my entire sky. I didn't need to do any charity work to prove I was okay. I just had to live well and do my job well. For 10 years as a housewife, I learned how to tend a garden. Now, I would use that skill to tend my life and make other people's lives more beautiful. I took a deep breath. The smell of coffee, paper, and the intoxicating smell of freedom. My real life had just begun. Call to action. Looking directly at the camera, a thoughtful, open expression. This journey taught me so much about trust, betrayal, and finding my own strength. I'm curious, what would you have done in my place when you first discovered the truth? Let me know in the comments below. I really want to hear your thoughts.